each and every day. And I exhort my brothers and sisters to do the same. In Jesus' name we pray. We've been talking about building up one another. Yesterday on Monday, we talked about being members of one another. Today, we want to talk about encouraging each other to be devoted one to another. It says in Romans 12:10, be devoted to one another in brotherly love. There's that word again, that LOVE word. Listen, don't you know we can't do without it? We got to have it because we are a family of God. And being a part of a family is something with which most people can identify. This is why Paul wrote what he did in Romans 12:10 with the exhortation to be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Do you know we have to be devoted to each other in brotherly love? There are several practical steps that we can take developing these family relationships in our churches and in our family. First of all, showing affections to love other Christians and treating them as brothers and sisters in Christ does not happen automatically. If it were automatic, we would not have so many exhortations to do so. Our first step is to take serious what the Bible says about brotherly love. It says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 9 through 10, it says, now about brotherly love, we do not need to write to you, for you yourself have been taught by God to love each other. And in fact, you do love all the brothers throughout Macedonia. Yet we urge you, brothers, do so more and more. I know people get on your nerve. How many nerves do you get on on somebody else? Do you get on anybody's nerve? People get on your nerve? It all happened. So you know what? That's why we talk about forgive, because you cannot harbor these things, because if you harbor them, then you're going to be having this, what's called a root of bitterness. And if you are a gardener, sometimes roots grow very, very deep, and then you have to dig down in that dirt and get it out, and you have to get to the root of it. And if you don't, it'll come back. So therefore, in order not to go through that painful surgery of removing that root, let's get rid of it now before it take root and grow, because we need each other. And if we're separated down here, how in the world will we be united in heaven? It's not going to be your side and my side and our side. It's going to be one united place. So listen, let's start it now. Let's start to love one another down here. Let's put the color thing on hold. Let's move it out the way. That's just because you're white and I'm black and our other brother is brown skinned and someone else is a different nationality. Listen, there's nothing wrong with accepting someone as they are. Remember, you can't change them, but love covers a multitude of sin. And what are we talking about this week? We're talking about the greatest gift, and that greatest gift is love. Forgive one another and let your yes be yes and your nay be nay, but let your love be sincere. And remember, there's a way out of your mess, and it's JESUS.
Where can you buy a brand new Nissan with a lifetime warranty? Kingston Pike. Hey, folks, Gerald Anderson with Ted Russell Nissan. You heard it right. Every new Ted Russell Nissan comes with a lifetime warranty, and that's a long, long time. Ted Russell Nissan on Kingston Pike.
Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Rome, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 866 865-457-1380 or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Good morning. This is the Country Club McMorning Show. Ask Your Neighbor program. Dr. David Ayers is in here with us this morning. And how you feeling, Doc?
Because better.
Because the second, when we're supposed to be here on the 6th, you were had scheduling conflict.
I had scheduling trouble then, so we backed it up a week, and then last week I was just so sick.
But you're better now?
Yeah.
Feel better?
Yeah.
Well, you look okay.
Well, thanks.
You look like you're doing
I couldn't hardly talk.
Really?
I talk about coughing. So I'm better now.
Good.
Have a better radio voice. My name is David Ayers.
So what is going on in the world of medicine that we've missed out on?
The world is crazy.
I
mean, it's honestly getting to the point, or I hesitate to say some things because even to me they sound crazy.
Okay.
It's if you have to step back, it's like one thing that getting sick where I couldn't practice medicine has allowed me to do is to back up away from it and look at it at a distance and give me a different perspective on things.
Yeah.
But there's some things. Well, to start with one, an IRB is called an Investigational Review Board, and all these pharmaceutical companies, all institutions that do research have these. So, University of Tennessee's got an IRB, and they approve studies that are done. You just can't go out and do studies on people.
Yeah.
You have to have protocols. How are you going to follow up on them? You know, is it right? Is this legal, moral? What you going to do to these people? And all that has to be decided up front. Well, the FDA decided that the IRBs, these investigational review boards, had the right to say, in certain studies where the risk to the people is small, that you don't even have to tell them.
Tell them
anything. You can do an experiment on people and not even tell them. Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, who made those rules?
And the FDA.
Okay.
You can look it up. I think it happened in March or something this year. Well, and you're going to trust these investigational review boards because the trouble with these review boards is they're determining the direction of research for these companies and universities. And so there's money involved, and probably a lot of money. And so they're going to have to say, well, you know, you can't do that, or you can do that and you don't have to tell anybody. And who determines minimal damage? I don't know. That's the kind of thing that needs to be reeled back in. So it's talking about things about you don't have informed consent, and I spent a little time on this morning because this gets to be so weird. Because they've been doing things to us for a while. The thing about, if you know what DARPA is, that's the Defense Advanced Research Projects or something.
Okay.
That's the military's lab. I guess what they call it in James Bond was a Q. Who was the guy?
He was the
pins
the scientist, yeah.
So that's the place that does it for the defense.
All right.
DARPA. And they, whatever we think we know, they've been doing for about 30 years on average. So when they're talking about artificial intelligence these days and all the things it can do, and you can get on Chat GTP or whatever online and ask the silly thing questions, it's been available
for a while,
for a long time, and it is much more advanced than what they show you. They don't show you what their version can do. They show you what your little play version can do. So somewhere back in the 90s, they decided that humans are electrical creatures. And we are. So if you get an EKG, it's an electrocardiogram. You get an EEG, it's electroencephalogram. Why? Because your body really runs on electricity. It's small amounts, but that's the way the cells communicate. That's the way nerves fire. It's all electrical. If you ever grabbed a hot wire doing electrical work, your muscles clamp right down because they run off electricity.
Yeah.
So, and of course, if your heart stops, we try to shock it back.
Yes.
So they decided they wanted to know more about us, and they came up with this whole thing called the W band. You can look it up, WBAN. That's the initials. It stands for Wireless Body Area Network. So if you have an office, sometimes I think there's a thing called WLAN in your office. That's a local area network. So the W-band is a wireless body area network.
Okay.
So these towers out here, they're what we call line of sight. High frequencies are line of sight. And low frequencies can go around curves and things. That's why when you hear the marching band from a distance, you can hear the bass drum and things, but you really can't hear the flutes. You have to be sort of looking at them. And then in your car, if you want to improve your speakers in your car, put the little tweeters pointing at your head. Subwoofer can be anywhere. So sometimes if they can't get to where they're going, they use you as an intermediary. They'll use your body and bounce the signal through you.
Off people.
Through people. And it potentially can do damage. They have to time it not to do it for very long because it does heat up the cells and everything when it passes through you. So you, at any given time, you may be part of a signal.
And what is the benefit to them to do that?
I guess it cuts down the number of towers. And
using people as walking towers?
Yeah. I mean,
that's a lot of stuff people...
That's one of the uses. I don't know all of the uses.
That's a lot of stuff people were talking about with the 5G, worried that it was going to penetrate and then cause damage to brain cells and that. Well, similar stuff.
Yeah. Now let's say the original studies they were doing on the 5G, and there's not that many. It doesn't penetrate deep into your skin. But we're not really talking about that here. We're talking about using it as a signal carrier.
Your body to
as a wire, basically.
Rebroadcast, yeah.
Right. And there's wide personal area networks. You can look at all of these. All have different numbers, 802.15. And they have the ability to tell things about you without you knowing. And this is not what, it's probably worse if you're wearing a sensor, and a lot of people wear, an Apple Watch or something like that, Fitbit or whatever they call it, and they can read a lot of data off of you about that, and how they use that data may be questionable. There is, but it seems to me they have the ability to tell all that stuff about you, whether you're wearing the thing or not. And some of it may go back to the COVID shot, and because there are other things in the shot, and some of it's in your food. I mean, they're putting graphene in a lot of the things we eat and drink. Graphene is a single layer carbon film, basically. And it does conduct electricity.
You'll say it's a conductor, isn't it?
Right.
That's what I thought it was.
We have that inside us. It's the death of privacy. Yeah, that's what I was talking before the show about these missing people. I wonder how people can be missing.
Yeah, in this day of time, how can anybody go missing?
Because your government knows. And there's this whole other thing called, how to phrase it? It's, they have a second you, basically. So, and a second me. They have a virtual you. And they run this sort of virtual world with the virtual us. And the virtual us's do what they predict us's are going to do based on what we've done in the past. And they know what we've done in the past. They know everything we've seen online. They know every place we go, and every place we kind of stop and eat. They know all this about us. And by having this virtual world, they think they can help predict the future. And but somewhere we got lost in it. And I think, loss of privacy, it can affect people's mental structure for dealing with the health issues. Because there's enough paranoia out there as it is. And most of the paranoia is warranted, it seems. Somebody is watching you all the time.
They're watching me. The show's boring. That's all I got to say. I said that the other day. Somebody said, I don't like those Alexas. I'm afraid people are listening. I said, they've turned mine on. They're going to get me yelling at my kids. That's what you get.
Well, I know. Sometimes I used to joke with saying, things like bomb or something. Just show up at my door. But there's been a progression of loss of privacy in the country. And it started with the CARES Act, which was a medical bill, like in 2016, and the PrEP Act 2005.
I think it started a lot with Homeland Security, the development, the construction of Homeland Security, and some of the, liberties it afforded the government to take.
Well, when 9/11 happened,
yeah,
we did the Patriot Act.
Yes. And
then we gave up so much privacy right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Obamacare came along, and it took what there was left. And there's these crazy acts. There's the Boyle-Dole Act, and that allows government employees to profit from patents they discover while they're on the job. And then there's the Smith-Mundt Act, which allows the government and the news to lie to you. We had something like that in World War II, and after World War II, it was repealed. So basically, they fed propaganda to us here in the United States. And then they said, well, that's probably not right. We shouldn't be lying to the people. And then now it's legal. The government can have the news tell you whatever it wants them to tell you, and there's not a thing you can do about it. So it gets difficult to know what to believe. And it's a whole situation that doesn't lead to good things, I don't think. What can you do for your health? Honestly, we don't really know about Wi-Fi and what it's going to do to people long term. We're pounded with all kinds of electromagnetic radiation, and we always have been. We get all these different rays from the sun.
Yeah.
But they're not in the way that's. Some of them are gamma rays that evaporate through you, and some of them are, cause your skin to burn. But by and large, we didn't have so many of them with the strength that we have today. Things I would recommend about your house: I would hardwire your house if you can. Just wire all your Cat 5 or whatever you want to run through the house, and try not to use Wi-Fi, or turn your Wi-Fi off at night at least. It would be better for your body. And don't leave your phone within 3 foot of your body. Put your phone away, or your iPad or whatever. Put it in another room. You'll be all right. And we were all right for so long without not having all the stuff around us. And now we feel like if I don't have my phone, somebody could call me and then I miss something. I would minimize the Internet of Things in your house. Don't get light bulbs that can listen. Don't get refrigerators that have screens on the door. Don't get Ring doorbells. When they had that outage here forget the name of the company that did it. But there's a nationwide outage, and it was on a Google update, I believe. Those refrigerators wouldn't open. People couldn't get anything out of them.
That would be aggravating. Can't get your refrigerator open because Google's down.
Well, that's true.
I wouldn't be no.
So
we looked at those. We got a new refrigerator. We looked at those. They're cool, but it was just too much money to keep my food cool.
Right. So there's been a new long-term study came out of the University of Oxford in England, and they've said that all the cases in children and adolescents who got myocarditis and pericarditis were due to the COVID shot. None of them were due to COVID infection. And they're having trouble right now in England. And they looked at 1 million different cases. And they have a National Health Service there, so they have a lot of records on people. So they're having a congestive heart failure in children.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Wasn't that something we talked about, too, that was a side effect of the shot early on that they were trying to deal with?
Well, we knew it was going to happen.
COVID shot, yeah.
So if somebody says, well, you could get it from the vaccine as well as you get it from the shot, it doesn't appear that that's true. All the cases they looked at came from just the injection. And now we've got children with heart failure. And we said that because, remember, the American Academy of Pediatrics trotted out a doctor, a pediatric cardiologist says, well, this looks like just a mild kind of myocarditis. Because the numbers of myocarditis are scary.
Yeah. I
mean, the death rate in 5 years is really, really high. And it's tragic. And then this guy comes out and says, like, oh, this kind's not bad. How would he even know that? No time had passed. And so they're still encouraging. They're still on the shot record to get this for your child with no benefit at all. There's no benefit to the child to get this shot. So please call in, by the way.
Yes, we didn't even say that.
I'm running out of stuff fast.
865-457-1380 if you've got a medical question for Dr. Ayers. 865-457-1380. And we'll stop what we're doing, take your call, and he'll try and answer it for you.
Yeah, be much more interesting. There's a cancer surgeon online, and I did put this on my doctor page on Facebook. Thanks, Dr. David Ayers. And so if you're listening from the last time I was on, I did finally get up the ADHD and the autism stuff on my doctor page. So if you go to Dr. David Ayers on Facebook, you should be able to find the autism stuff and the ADHD stuff, and well as this interview.
Good deal.
So this is a cancer surgeon. It's a lady, and somebody had widespread cancer, which usually doesn't lend itself to a surgical cure.
Okay.
And they had metastatic prostate cancer and really given up for death. They'd had everything done. She even tells his name. It's unusual. Because the poor man went through castration, which that's a very aggressive thing to do for a prostate cancer. You're trying to get rid of any kind of testosterone, period. Mm-hmm. And it all failed. And he went to the doctor, said, can you try something? Can you do more radiation? And the doctor said, no, just, talk to the priest, and that's all you got. So then he went and got ivermectin. And according to the story that this lady's telling, this physician, he's still around. He has like one tumor, I think, in one bone. They can't tell, I think, because it's a hot spot either from the radiation left or it's a residual tumor. But he was dying, and now he's doing whatever he wants. He goes dancing, and I just say that because there are other things out there than we're basically being told. I think we're going to see medicine start to move away from what we've traditionally done, and we're going to have to take some responsibility ourselves for what happens to us, rather than just saying, you're the doctor, make a call. She also had a guy with metastatic esophageal cancer, and he was dying, and he's still doing fine. I I think all of his tumors disappeared. And that's taking the horse paste that that they made fun of during COVID.
Hang on here a second. We got a call. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor this morning. Hello. You got a question or comment for Dr. Ayers?
I do.
All right, ma'am.
I do. I have two questions. The first one is, what's ANA positive in your blood? And can the COVID shot or having COVID cause you to have an autoimmune disease? And I will hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good questions. ANA, that comes up a lot.
What is it?
Anti-nuclear antibody. So basically, it's your body making that antibody to itself. Now, just having that doesn't mark any disease. I mean, classically, you would say that's a sign of lupus, but most people have a positive ANA don't have lupus. If you have symptoms of lupus and have a positive ANA, that supports the diagnosis. I know it's a weird way of thinking. Okay, so if you tested everybody out there for ANA, there'd be quite a few of them that had a positive anti-nuclear antibody. Very few of them would have lupus. But if you tested people with lupus for an ANA, over 90% would be positive for an ANA. So it depends. If you got the symptoms of the disease and then you got that just adds to the diagnosis that that's likely.
Mm-hmm.
And so speaking of autoimmunity, the whole concept of autoimmunity is your immune system's supposed to look for foreign things and attack those when it sees them. And that may be cancer cells that pop up, or it may be germs that your body gets. It looks for things that don't belong and attacks it. Sometimes it gets confused and attacks itself. That's what autoimmunity is. So it could be attacking your joints, as in rheumatoid arthritis. It could be attacking various organs of the body and lupus. There's a lot of autoimmune diseases out there. Can they be related to viral infections and vaccines? It seems that autoimmunity has risen exponentially with the rise of vaccinations starting about the 1980s. So there always was some of it out there. But when we started really doing these multiple injections, autoimmunity is going way up. So at least there is a correlative relationship. My gut feeling is it's probably causative and not necessarily just correlation, but it seems like there's really, and you can figure out why there would be. You're injecting foreign substance into the body, and if you inject a foreign substance into the body that looks like something that's in the body already, then the immune system can get confused. We used to get valvular disease after strep. That was a big problem. The body would, and the thinking was there's something about strep that looked like the heart. So when the body attacked the strep, it attacked the heart because it sort of looked like it to its way of looking. We don't see that much anymore. Acute glomerulonephritis was the kidney disease, is also related to strep. Those have almost disappeared. I don't think we really know why those have disappeared. But there was a prediction that we would see this kind of thing with these shots because of the way they work. And it can get the immune system riled up, and it can start attacking things. And that's sort of what we're seeing. So
there you go. So is the short answer yes, it can cause autoimmune?
It seems to me there's definitely a relationship between immunizations and the rise of autoimmunity in the United States. I would say there's nobody could contest that statement. Does that mean that they cause one another? I say probably. That'd be a little harder to prove.
Yeah.
But definitely we've got a ton of it. Almost everybody's got it. I mean, psoriasis is an autoimmune thing. A lot of conditions are autoimmune.
865-457-1380, 877-711-4005. At any point during the conversation, if you have a question, just pick up the phone and call. We'll get you on the air, get your question out, and Doc will do his best to answer it for you.
I just noticed there, listen to myself talk. One, I'm tired because I got in at 2:00 this morning. But in medicine, as a physician, you have people come in your office that are just very anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be sort of like a sponge and suck that up. So, one, you can get very empathetic, and you don't want to get too much. You can get to your feeling the patient's pain.
Mm-hmm.
Sympathetic means I feel for you. Empathy means I feel what you're feeling. And if you got to cut somebody, and that gets to be difficult if you're really feeling the patient's pain.
Mm-hmm.
But you train yourself to be calm in the midst of crisis, because if somebody's having a code in the hospital, you can't start freaking out. You have to say, okay, this is the first thing we're going to do. This is the second thing we're going to do. And we're going to stay calm.
Yeah.
And that's what you want out of your physician.
Yeah.
Of course, that carries over in the rest of your life, You can become very bland. And this is the pattern of my talking, this calm stuff, which probably doesn't translate to great radio. It wouldn't really be a good shock jock or anything. It's just.
But it's comforting as a doctor. So,
right. So I probably need to say. And now the next thing we're going to talk about is a great. There's a new book out.
Okay.
I have not read it, but I've heard the authors interviewed.
Okay.
At length, and you can find that's on a Tucker Carlson interview. Callie and Casey Means, I think is their name. It's a brother and sister. She was in her last year of an ENT surgical residency and dropped out. And he was in lobbying. And she got frustrated because it seemed like she could treat whatever came her way, but she couldn't stop what was happening. And that can be frustrating. Because in a doctor's office, the way the system is set up, the doctors get paid by how many people they can crank through.
Mm-hmm.
And how many charges they can
accumulate.
Right. So that's the way the system's set up. Get the doctor to see the most number of people and do the most number of things. And that's why your doctor brings you back. Doctor, can you just take a look at this bump on my back? Could you just talk to my secretary, or the nurse will make you an appointment to come back. We'll take a look at that bump on your arm. Why? Because if he builds the bump on your arm and the thing you came for on the same day, then the second thing gets billed at half. He only gets half.
Gotcha.
So, and it's not that their doctors are, one, they're overworked anyway, but it's a strange job being a physician. I mean, and they've let up on it quite a bit, but when I went to medical school, and it was worse before me, but when I went to medical school, I mean, you'd work like 3 days in a row, like night and day. You can only think you weren't even safe to drive home. You were just cheap labor for the hospital is what happens. And it's a trial by fire. But that's the way that you're geared, and then you get in your practice and sort of run the same way. Get them in, get them out. You got to keep them happy, make them feel like they had time with you, and you adequately address their problems. And it's hard to do people like that. The ER, I mean, you can sort of do that a little bit because people expect that.
Yeah.
They don't really have a relationship with that physician. So you go see your
doctor.
Right. You want him to talk to you, listen at you, hear what your problems are about.
Sure.
And he probably knows you, so he wants to ask about your family, and so it can get hard to be a quote good doctor and a successful doctor. Those things sort of counteract with each other. But what happens is, in this rush to get people in and out of the office, is we just deal with the problem. We 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 don't ever deal what made the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's a place we need to step back and say, why are we so sick? Why do we spend twice as much money on health care as any other place in the world, and we're sicker than most other countries in the world? We have the best health care. And they make a point. You can't beat American health care when it comes to an emergency. We are really good. You got shot in the leg, we can fix it. Mm-hmm. You know, you got a bad infection out of nowhere, we can usually address it. You know, anybody that's acutely ill, we can really do well with that. And we did, and that really shown in World War II. But coming out of there, we started getting into chronic health care, which was really nothing that's ever pursued before. I think they said, and they're looking up, the birth control pill was the first pill that was ever written to be taken on a regular basis. Nobody really had much medicine like that.
Yeah.
They took every day. There weren't blood pressure pills or anything like that. But now, you know, average adult's probably taking 5 pills. And I'm not saying these pills don't help, but why? Why are we so sick? Did God make a boo-boo just in North America that we're having to need all this stuff? And then I think the name of the book is called Good Food. Is that one of the big things we can do is we can address the things we're eating. We've talked about this before, and they said things that I've said here. You know, if it's got 16 ingredients, don't eat it. You know, and I've said, you know, if you look at the ingredients, it's the paragraph, don't eat it.
Yeah.
Food shouldn't have that many things in it. Too much ultra-processed food. We have ultra-processed wheat. We got ultra-processed oils. We got ultra-processed sugars in our food. Those aren't things we would naturally eat in the wild. You can't get that in the wild. So it's not the way we're built. And then ends up being stored as fat. So we're very heavy right now. And then that leads to its own set of problems. Everything from polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is probably one of the number one cause of female infertility right now. And a lot of that can be fixed, if not cured, with just dietary interventions. We have to take it back in our own hands. In fact, I'm the last guy I listen to for financial stuff, but my wife would be better, but me. If you wanted to pick something out there in the future you wanted to invest in or get involved in, that would be local farming, because we're going to need people to make real food, like grow real corn, grow real tomatoes, grow real potatoes, grow real green beans, grow real cows that aren't vaccinated to death, have fresh milk that hasn't been hyper-processed. There's going to be a market for all those things coming up. One, I think there's going to be a food shortage because the way the system's set up. And we got to quit using this stuff on it. You know, this glyphosate, which is Roundup, it causes lymphoma. And it's weird that, because that's made by Monsanto, and Bayer bought Monsanto. Bayer makes the drug for lymphoma.
And a chemical that causes it.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Right.
Hey, guys, if you have questions, call us at 865-457-1380 or 877-711-4005. Program's called Ask the Doctor. Dr. Ayers is with us, so if you got questions, call and ask.
So I'm not an Ozempic hater, but should we really need as much Ozempic as we're having to use? It's just, and now they're trying to get approved for children. I think there's a bill before Congress.
For diabetes, for weight loss, for what, or all of the above?
Pretty much all of the above.
Okay.
I mean, the numbers on our children are, I think it's 50%, somewhere between 30 and 50% are obese. Do you know prisoners get more outdoor time than the average child? So if you're a prisoner in a jail, they think more of your health to get you outside than our children naturally would do on their own. Way too much screen time. You have to take the stuff away from your kids. I'm not saying take it away totally, but get them outside. You need some sunshine to make vitamin D. It's guides your whole immune system. Vitamin D does. And you need to get outside. So everybody needs to get out. It's just amazing how much you can drive around on any given day. And maybe you'll see somebody mowing the grass, but that's about it.
True.
I don't see anybody even sitting out talking to their neighbor on the porch. We're tied to these electronic contraptions. So that'd be a big thing of help. The rise in dementia seems to be related to the dietary things we're doing here in the United States. So if you want to avoid dementia, you should eat foods basically, like we said before, the closer you eat things the way God made it, the better off you're going to be. You know, better than buying tomato sauce. Buy a tomato and make some sauce. People don't cook. We don't sit at the table anymore. And we're paying for it. This is what you get. I know what you get when you get all these manipulated foods and nobody's cooking, and you get an obese nation that's very sick and has to go to the doctor, and the doctor's pressed to try to sell these people, and he can just write you more medicines, and these are medicines for life. So the pharmacies are just pharmacy companies, not pharmacies, the pharmaceutical companies. It's like the best thing ever happened, because you can take, the doctor's putting you on this pill for life. He's not telling you he's going to take this for a week and you're going to be fine. He's putting you on these pills for life. So you got a steady income coming into all these companies, and it's just really unnecessary.
Good morning, WYSH. You're on Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question for Dr. Ayers today?
Yes, I do, and I'd like to say, boy, I love listening to Dr. Ayers. Agree with everything he says.
Thank you.
So thankful that you have him on the show. I was recently diagnosed with diabetes. My A1C was 6.7, and so I'm trying to control this, and actually I'm hoping to reverse it, but I keep hearing that it all starts in the gut. And so I wondered what he might have to say about that, the best ways to deal with early diabetes, and if the gut is the beginning point, the best thing to do.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Doc?
Well, I think you can reverse it. Whether they ever take the tag diabetes away from you, that's going to be a technical problem built into the system. But from a realistic point of view, yeah, you can reverse diabetes. You definitely early on, because your A1C, well, I think 4.5 to 5.6
Okay.
is considered normal. So you get about 6.5, then you have a diagnosis of diabetes.
Okay.
Along with other things. So the best thing you can do is probably weight loss. That will be the most likely thing to bring your numbers into control. And you can do that by altering what you eat, altering what you exercise. And then you might even be an argument there to use Ozempic for a brief period of time, just to get things under control.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the gut, we're learning more and more about the gut, the whole gut biome, because it's a whole There's a whole forest in there. I mean, it's got all these bacteria that are helpful, and some can be harmful. And you need to keep that helpful. So every time you take an antibiotic, you've messed that up quite a bit. It's killed a lot of them. So eating something that's been fermented on a regular basis is a good way to keep the biome in your bowel good. So that could be sauerkraut, kimchi. I mean, yogurt's okay, but it tends to just have one kind of lactobacillus in it. So if you can get, like, I'd say probably sauerkraut in this culture's your best one. You can make it yourself. It's got a lot of bacteria in it, and it'll replenish the bacteria in your gut. And I think that will help. But of all the things, you do one thing to get your A1C down and to drop out of the diabetic world, that would be to lose weight, because the fat cells are the most resistant to insulin. And that's what happens in type 2 diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, something happens to the pancreas in usually children, and they don't make insulin. And so they get all these side effects of the sugar being high. Okay. And adults would become resistant to insulin. So we have plenty of insulin. In fact, it's probably high, but it's just not working. We've become resistant to its effects. And that's from, eating these processed things for so many years usually. So if you can get the fat cells down, they're the most resistant. You get rid of the resistance, and that's basically what type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance. And that should fix things. And if you stay on the straight and narrow, you should be fine the rest of your life. So
there you go.
It's simple to say. It's a little bit more difficult to do, but it can be done. And I've seen it done many times. People have successfully got their stuff under control. Thing came out and said that blood type A is the most likely to get severe coronavirus. Nothing you can do about it, but you can just file it away as information. One good thing that happened yesterday is that I think Nicaragua, they shut down about 1,500 or 1,600 NGOs, non-government organizations. They're mostly religious, because these religious NGOs are the ones that are trafficking children. And that's just sad. That's sad. I don't want to pick on any one faith, because it seems to me in the hierarchies of all these faiths, there's problems when you get to the administration of them.
Yeah.
So that's a step in the right direction, I think. But even the Red Cross, honestly, some of the Red Cross down here is up in the northern part of the country. Because the Red Cross has the ability to go in and out without ever being questioned, they've been caught doing all kinds of orneriness. And some of it may be their own generation, some of it because the government asks them to. If you get to be an international figure, it's not unusual for the CIA to come knocking at your door. If you remember Patrick Byrne, he was the head of Overstock. He used to do those commercials for Overstock.com. And he came with these crazy stories, like he was sent by the CIA to talk to somebody, and people thought he was crazy, but he wasn't. He really was sent to talk to these people. And even in World War II. Who played the Pink Panther?
Peter Sellers?
No, that was Clouseau. Actually, who played the Panther guy? David Niven.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a spy. He was a spy in the military. And, the band leader that died there in World War II was crossing the English Channel. Can't remember his name. Glenn Miller.
Oh.
So all these people have been used by the government, because when you become an international figure, you can get out of countries. People don't ask questions. I don't know how I got on that, but well, the Red Cross. It's one thing. The Red Cross has the ability to do that kind of thing, and therefore, I don't know if it's their idea or other people's ideas, but they've been used for such things in the past. So somebody please call. We're going to have a short show.
865-457-1380, 877-711-4005. If you want to, I'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk more with Dr. Ayers. We'll come back, take calls if we have them. Come back, whatever we've got for you, we'll have it.
Are you looking for a firearm? AB Prototype Guns and Custom Shop in Oak Ridge has hundreds of modern pistols, rifles, and shotguns in stock. They carry ammunition in popular calibers, and their friendly and knowledgeable staff can help you find the latest optic for your handgun or rifle. AB Prototype has an extensive selection of parts, magazines, and other aftermarket accessories. They're open Monday through Saturday, and discounts are available for veterans and law enforcement. AB Prototype Guns and Custom Shop, located at 1956B Oak Ridge Turnpike in Oak Ridge. Call 865-910-3602 or visit online abprototype.com.
Live at Brushy Mountain Prison, Saturday, August 24th, 7:30 p.m. It's Blackberry Smoke, along with 49 Winchester.
Well, my fall from grace was a sight to see.
Visit the prison before the show, grab a bite to eat. In the restaurant, check out the distillery and gift shop. Blackberry Smoke, August 24th and 49 Winchester. Brushy Mountain Prison. Go to tourbrushy.com for tickets.
Bad man, what you gonna be standing in the shadow?
Powell Clint's Utility District wants to make your next home improvement a success. Their appliances are made with you in mind to update your kitchen, laundry room, and provide you with endless hot water. Want to improve your outdoor living? PCUD sells griddles, grills, and fire pits, all powered by natural gas, so you never have to fill a tank again. They also offer appliance installation and 0% financing added directly to your monthly bill. Visit PCUD Showroom in Rocky Top, their website at pcud.org, or call 865-426-2822 to learn more. PCUD is your natural gas provider. It's football time in Tennessee, and Hammer's Dry Goods is stocked up with game day clothing for the entire family. We're also receiving new shipments of clothing every day for hiking, fishing, and outdoor fun. Ladies and girls' boutique fashions are 25% off Hammer's regularly low marked prices. Check out our huge inventory of ladies' boutique style shoes and boots at discount prices. Come and see our complete fall line of ladies' fashion goods and accessories from Simply Southern. Select from a special purchase of comfort color sweatshirts, long sleeve tees, all at Hammer's low prices. And choose from our largest inventory of Wrangler, ATG hiking and work pants. We also have stacks upon stacks of famous brand men's boots for $99. Visit Hammer's Facebook and Instagram for daily deals and new items. Come and see us at our new location in the big brick building right across from Anderson County High School. Or visit our other locations in Sevierville, Wartburg, Halls, and New Tazewell. If you miss a day, you miss a bargain at Hammer.
All right, guys, giving you the opportunity to call in and ask Dr. Ayers questions, medical questions. 865-457-1380. You got something on your mind you'd like to ask? It's called Ask the Doctor. 457-1380. What else you got for us, Doc?
Well, I mean, speaking of the last lady's question, this whole insulin resistance problem comes out of our diet. And our food's been manipulated so that we don't reach satiety. So
Reach what?
you don't get full.
Okay.
People don't get full when they eat this processed food. So it tells them to eat more processed food. You just sit down and eat steak. You'll reach a point you just can't take another bite, because that's the natural way you're made. You're made to eat till you're full, and then you quit. You're not hungry anymore. But no, you can sit down with 2 bags of potato chips, and you could probably eat both of them if you had a mind to do it. 2 cans of Pringles or whatever.
Yeah, I can do that.
Right. So the food it's just not food. There's very little food value in our food. That drives the whole supplement industry. because we have to take supplements to get what we need. But when you get sugar problems, if you don't get under control, and my hat's off to this lady to get it under control, because what follows after that is you get nerve damage in their feet, you get vision issues, you can get dementia, you can get reproductive fertility issues. All these stem out of this one thing of this insulin resistance, and pancreatic cancer is one of those as well. So you can stop a whole lot of trouble if you don't have to deal with the obesity issue. And it's peculiar to the United States. It's getting less peculiar around the world. But it used to be if you traveled to Europe anyway, you didn't hardly see anybody
overweight.
Right. But even in our country, I don't say it's hurt anybody's feelings. But in the early parts of the 20th century, on the sideshow, one of the things you would see would be that somebody was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody saw anybody that heavy.
Big, yeah.
And that's how much our whole culture has changed.
I'm going to get a call here. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question for Dr. Ayers today?
Yes.
All righty, go ahead.
Actually, I wanted to say that what he's been telling us today is true, because Ray Johnson here in Clinton was overweight, had no muscle, had to pull himself up, roll around to get up off the couch, and now he's eating just meat and stuff like that that's normal, eggs,
mm-hmm.
and he can get up. He's no longer diabetic. I mean, no blood pressure problems. I mean, he has changed, my goodness, a lot.
Just from changing his eating habits?
Do what?
Just because he changed his eating habits, started eating more.
Yes, his eating habits.
Yeah.
And he feels like doing things now. And he's got a method of cooking where you fill it up in a vacuum and hit steams,
mm-hmm.
and cooks the meat in that vacuum, and in its own natural juices until it's tender. Then you just pop it on the grill or something like that. Fry it, however you want to fix it,
Sure.
for just for like a minute.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's ready to eat. And I think maybe Harry's might do their chicken that way because it tastes about the same.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Well, I hope people good luck. I'm trying it myself since I've seen him get up and down and do the things I've seen him do that he was never able to do.
Well, keep us posted on how it works.
It really works.
Good. Let us know how you do, okay?
Yes.
All right.
So,
thank you.
It's great to be an inspiration to other people, but it shows you at some point you have to take your health in your hands. It's your health. Mm-hmm. You're the one's going to suffer from the side effects of whatever diseases come your way. And we've got in our heads that there's a pill that can fix it, and there's not really a pill.
Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question for Dr. Ayers today?
Yes. Excuse me.
Go right ahead.
Back when COVID was going on, it was not at the beginning of it. It was kind of towards the end of it, I guess. Anyway, I had shortness of breath, and I went to my family doctor, and he checked me out. I'd had sinus infection Well, the doctor that I was using, she was leaving, so she kind of wasn't interested in her patients anymore and whatever. But he asked me if she took chest X-ray of me, and I said no, she hadn't. And he didn't like that, so he said, I'm going to do a chest X-ray of you and some blood work, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I went back for a chest X-ray and took a chest X-ray, came back in, and he put it on the computer and showed me. He said, come up here beside of me. He said, you see this right here, this white in your lungs? I said, yeah. He said, that's some pneumonia. And he said, your heart is enlarged. And he said, I'm going to set you up with a heart doctor. I forget what you call them. But anyway, a heart specialist, a heart doctor, as soon as possible. And I said, okay. He said, you need to find out about your heart. And so they done that. They done a bunch of tests and everything. And I guess cardiogram or whatever they was doing, the nurse was doing, she said, I'm going to have to put some dye in your veins to get that pulled up better. And she said, I've got to have a heart doctor to do that. So she went out and she found the heart doctor, and he came in and he sat down and she put that in my veins, and he run that thing across my chest, and he just quit and stood up. He said, James, he said, buddy, he said, you got congested heart failure, you got fluid around your heart and lungs. Your heart is working, I think it was working at either 12 or 20%. He said, I'm going to have to put you in the hospital right this minute and get that fluid off and go from there. Well, they put me straight in the hospital and put IVs and got the fluid off. The next day it was gone. He ordered a defibrillator that you wear, and they got it and put it on me and showed me how to work it. And I was in the hospital 2 or 3 days, and they got my medicines right, and I had to go home with a defibrillator, and I had to go back like every month or two for a while. And they all just told me I need to take the COVID shot, because if I got that COVID, I would be a dead man. Well, I talked to the heart doctor for about an hour about that stuff. I talked to a nurse, and I talked to the pharmacy, and they said, the doctors said they took the Pfizer, and so I decided to take it. I took the first booster shot. Everything was fine. When I took my second booster shot, was on Thursday about 4 o'clock. Okay, everything was fine. Then Friday about 6 o'clock, I had that heart defibrillator on, and sometimes those buttons would get flipped over, and it would set it off, and you'd mash the button to keep it from shocking you. Well, it started going off, and so I mashed the button. I thought, well, one of the things flipped over, because I was rolling hay in a cab tractor. And so the next month, about a month after that, I had to go back to my heart doctor. And, well, I didn't see the heart doctor. I seen same thing as the doctor. I can't think of nothing this morning. The nurse practitioner is who I saw. She was with me from day one, and she said, James, that defibrillator, did it go off on a certain, she told me the date, the time, and everything. I said, yes, and I said, I hit the button where it wouldn't shock me, because I said, I figured those things got flipped over, and I said, I was on a cab tractor, and I was rolling hay, and I stopped, and I fixed that thing to hit the button, and resets it, and it didn't go off no more. She said, it should have shocked you that day. She said, now look here on the computer. She said, your heart went haywire on you that day. She showed me and said, do do you kind of have any? Do you know what might have caused that? And I got to thinking, and I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I took that second booster shot for that COVID on a Thursday, and this is on a Friday, and it started at 6 o'clock, you said. She had it all on the computer. She said, yes. I said, well, I took that second booster shot for COVID that Thursday at 4 o'clock. And I said, and this started at 6 o'clock? I said, it had to be that shot is the only thing I know. She said, I got you. She said, you do not take no more shots for COVID. She said, that could kill you. And she said, do not take no more shots. Well, I was back at my family doctor yesterday. This was 2 or 3 years ago when I'd done those COVID shots. Anyway, I was back at my family doctor yesterday, and he said, you need to take that RSV shot. It's for the flu and RSV, and I think COVID or what. And I said, hey, my heart doctor told me not to be taking them shots for COVID and all that stuff. But this is for RSV and stuff. Well, I come home and I kind of done a little research, and they got a new shot out for all that junk. And they're, you know how they are, they're making money off the pharmacy and stuff. And I go back to my heart doctor in October, but I am not, he ordered that shot, but I'm not taking that shot. And I was wondering what Dr. Ayers thinks about that, and I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thanks, sir. All righty.
A great story. So I think if the world hangs in there, I think you should thank Ron Meredith and maybe Dr. Ayers if you didn't take that shot. I think when all's panned out and said and done, you're going to find out you've probably made one of the better decisions you made in your life. And if you took it, I'm sorry. There's still things you can do. But, yeah, I wouldn't take any more of those. I wouldn't took the first one, really. RSV is respiratory syncytial virus. It's a single-stranded RNA virus, much like the flu, much like coronavirus. So the things that work for those, you know, the taking ivermectin or taking hydroxychloroquine or would help those just as well. I never ever really thought of RSV being a problem in adults. RSV is typically a kid thing. It can cause real thick secretions. So if you have a newborn baby who's like 2 or 3 months old and their airways are so tiny because their lungs are so tiny, and they get RSV, they can get bronchiolitis and get real wheezy and have all kinds of trouble breathing, especially if they have a tendency toward asthma. They end up in a hospital. But it's a new thing. It's a novel thing. But see, if you can get a shot recommended in this country, honestly, there's a lot of money to be made there. Mm-hmm. I never thought of giving an adult. I never even perceived respiratory syncytial virus being a problem in adults. So I see no reason that you should take it. It's just a new thing. They can do it, and so they did it, and now they want everybody to take it. And I just don't see the point of it.
Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers, please?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
I was the one that called in about the ANA positive. On my niece's paperwork, it says core speckles that she could have mixed connective tissue disease. And I want to know what that means, but I want to know why they would have tested her to begin with. And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Doc.
So to see an anti-nuclear antibody on a slide, you have this kind of staining thing. It's a fluorescent stain, and it will show up in certain kinds of ways. We cover it smoothly, or in this case, a speckled pattern. And it seems like the different ways it's on the cell is more typical of certain diseases than other diseases. So what they've done the test. It turned out positive. That prompted them to look at it under the microscope with the fluorescent stain, and they saw it had this speckled pattern, and they decided that's most consistent with mixed connective tissue disease. Okay. Now, that means absolutely nothing without a reason. See, that's the problem. If you start doing tests and you don't have a reason to do a test, and then you get a result, then what are you going to do with the result? So somebody needs to talk to the doctor and ask them, why did they order this? It's not a screening test. It's a horrible test to do because it's positive so many times, and it means really nothing. But now you've got somebody thinking they've got lupus or something like that. A mixed connective tissue disease means it's not lupus, it's not rheumatoid arthritis, it's not this, it's some kind of mixed hodgepodge of those kinds of things. So that's what they're saying it's consistent with. But some of it depends on the concentration of it, because there's a number like 1 to 160 or 1 to 80 or something like that. Say how much antinuclear antibody there was. If there wasn't very much, it doesn't really matter or anything. There weren't any symptoms, then I don't see any point for getting the test. It's the problem getting tests.
Good morning, WYSH. Do you have a question or comment for Dr. Ayers today?
Yes, I do.
All righty. Go right ahead. You're on.
Okay. First off, I wonder if he has any tricks for sciatica.
Okay.
And then I'd just like to say, people really need to listen to their own bodies, know their body, listen to their body. I had a GI person insisting I must have a liver biopsy. I said, no, I don't have to do anything. I'm a more mature person, and my mom and my daddy are long gone. Anyway, they said, you have to go. And I said, well, they thought I had liver cancer. So, okay, well, I'll go to the horse's mouth on that one. And I called and made an appointment with an oncologist. Mm-hmm. They called me back. You haven't had your biopsy. I said, no, I'm going to an oncologist in 2 weeks, and we'll go from there. Well, you may not have 2 weeks. Well, I'm like, what? Well, if it's an aggressive cancer, then, you could really be putting yourself at risk. I said, yeah, well, I don't believe I have cancer, period, anyway. I know myself. I know my body. The Holy Spirit hadn't told me, Debbie, you're in trouble. So I went to the oncologist in 2 weeks, love him to death. He listened. He did tests. I had been on iron supplements every day of my life since 1998 because of something called hypogammaglobulinemia, and I was horrifically anemic. And every year at my physical, yes, you have to stay on it for the rest of your life. So I'd been taking it all that time, and I got to studying it. Well, that increases your ferritin level, which is what they were concerned with because I was extremely toxic, nearly 1,800. So I told the oncologist, I said, well, no more iron. I'm quitting the iron, and we'll see what happens. Now, within 6 months, my ferritin level, it's still considered high at 800, and my AST and ALP liver were horrifically off the chart. They are now perfectly normal. So I fired the GI, I got a new one. We really do need to listen to ourselves and pray about it. I think the Lord will always give us an answer. But anyway, that was just a story. This sciatica, has he got any exercises or any specialist or anything you got? Because that stuff's really nasty.
All right.
I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
It's been the day of the great story. So, yes, listen to your own body. taking iron that long, there's an iron storage disease called hemochromatosis, where your body can't get rid of iron, and it ends up with exactly what you had. You end up with damaged liver, and it can lead to cirrhosis of the liver because your body's trying to store it in the liver, the extra iron. And that something wasn't right there about putting on iron all that time. And it should have been, I would think, tracked a little bit better. But I wasn't there. That being said, sciatica is where the nerves of the lower back get pinched coming out. And that's usually mostly just from arthritis. It can be a bulging disc or something like that. But it's often just due to spurs forming from arthritis. And it narrows the exits where the nerves come out from the spine into the leg, and it causes pain going down the leg. And it usually follows a particular pattern. So it's hard to make arthritis in your back go away. But you can get the muscles that hold your core stronger. So anything that helps the core of your body to be stronger will usually cause less pain in your back. So that would be something to make your stomach muscles stronger. And that could be, I wouldn't do sit-ups because sit-ups usually make sciatica worse. But you can do a crunch, or you can just lay on your back and lift your legs up about 2 or 3 inches off the floor and hold them up there for as long as you can hold them, and let them lay back down. And then I'll strengthen the muscles of the core of your belly. Because when your muscles are strong around your midsection, it takes the stress off the bones trying to hold your body up. And then just staying active. Exercise, and I think in all the studies I've seen, exercise is probably the best thing to help it, just to stay active. If there's something that makes it worse, then obviously don't do that. But just increasing your basic strength will probably be the best thing you can do. There's home traction units that help some people, but by and large, exercise, staying active, that's your best bet for that.
Okay. There you go.
If you get a focal weakness, something like that, where it's pressing on a nerve so badly that the muscle's starting to waste in your leg, then some of those people will need surgery. You don't want to let it get too far out of hand. But surgery's 50-50 for pain. It's good about making your muscle come back or your strength come back, but it's going to take the pain away. It's like flipping a coin. Half the time it will, and half the time it won't. Okay. I'm not so anxious to operate on backs like they used to be. Sort of in favor for some reason.
Anything else today, Doc?
I'd say been a lot of wisdom from these people calling in. Listen to your body. Take care of your body. It's really your responsibility. It's not your doctor's. And get away from these processed foods. If it's got, high fructose corn syrup and processed wheat and flour, you need to probably steer clear of it. It's just, I'm not saying you can never eat it, but it's not doing you any good. It's not really, there's not much food value in there.
No nutritional value.
Yeah, I heard him say that. There's people talking about that book. They said the largest fast food restaurant in the world is the United States Department of Agriculture running their school lunch program. 19 billion meals a year served. And now they're arguing to get Lunchables on there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry.
Lunchables aren't even lunch.
I don't even think they're even food. Just because we eat it don't make it food. There's no vegetables in there. There's no fruits in there. You guys know what eating right is. You really do. If you just think about it. It doesn't involve a lot of pizza, It doesn't involve a lot of hot dogs. And meat's fine. But you got to get some vegetables in there. You got to get some fruit in there. And you'll be all right. Your weight will just take care of itself. And you got to be active. We got to get off the couch. You can't sit around and you're lazy boy. Speaking to myself, and be healthy.
I get it.
It's not gonna play out good. I can tell you how that story ends. You just lose muscle mass over time, and get you a hobby. Find something you want to do. Get outside and do it, and be like some of these success stories we've heard here today.
There you go. Doc will be back on the second Tuesday of the month, which we're just
pretty soon.
We'll flip a week. There you go. We'll do this all over again. So you guys, any questions from the show today or any questions that you'd like to ask, we'll do this again.
Check out the Facebook, Dr. David Ayers, because some of you wanted me to post stuff, which I finally got posted.
There you go. Dr. David Ayers on Facebook. And if you have questions, call me. We'll ask him when he gets back. Have a great day, everybody. Once again, second Tuesday of the month. No, first Tuesday of the month. Now I'm confused. First Tuesday of the month, each month. Dr. Ayers comes in and answers your questions. So let your friends know, family members know. If you've got medical questions, we'll be back here and we'll do it again on Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month. Oh, yeah, it's back to school time, but don't worry. There's still time to get out and enjoy the lake. The last big blowout of summer at Bo's Indian River Marina in Jacksboro is Saturday, August 31st. Come on out and join us beginning at 9 a.m. Saturday morning for our big kids fishing tournament. Water balloon toss and games for all ages. Plus, we've got trophies for first, second, and third place finishing in the fishing tournament. And don't forget